Zaid Dabus.
Spell.
Zaid Dabus.
All right, and Zaid, can you tell me what your title is with the organization?
I'm currently the interim president of SJP. I came in this semester as president when our last president graduated.
SJP is Students for Justice in Palestine.
Yeah, Students for Justice in Palestine.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the background of why you have this billboard that we'll get to in a second. But what's the issue here? Why did you get 10,000 signatures? What was that for?
Okay, well, in late 2012, early 2013, there was like a wave of an awakening of a sort around universities around America. They started to ask questions about their schools' endowment funds. Where is this money invested? Because an endowment, it's donated money that the school uses to invest in companies so that they can make more money in the end. So they started asking where does our money go? So when looking into these things, because they are public records, especially in public universities like USF, students started to find out that they were investing in companies that didn't necessarily have the most ethical background, the most ethical history. So when this happened, a few SJPs in other schools, UCLA is one of the prime examples, they found out that their school was investing in companies that were very blatantly part of Israeli apartheid, or keeping Palestinians second to Israelis, or hurting the Palestinians. So USF in 2013, as SJP, we decided to look into this as well. And we found out that the USF Foundation, who's in charge of our endowment, invests in companies that not only hurt Palestinians, but have factories, they do things in occupied Palestine, which is illegal by UN standards to begin with. So not only did we find that, but we found that we invest in companies that create prison systems that are created to keep Latinos in prison as long as possible. We invest in weapons companies. Weapons companies? Really? So we decided we're gonna start initially it was a referendum. It was a referendum that we asked student government, and after a while, our referendum, we were required to get 2,000 signatures. We got 2,500 signatures. They put it on the ballot. It passed. It was 2,100 to 600 votes. In the end, student government said, this is too political of an issue for us to discuss. So they killed it after it passed, which was kind of messed up. So the next thing we did, we said we're going to go and do a petition. So we decided on the number 10,000. So we went, and for months, this was before I even came into USF, so this is before my time. We came in, and we got the 10,000 signatures. In May of 2014, we submitted 10,000 signatures to the USF Foundation in our petition. Our petition clearly says we want divestment from companies that are engaging in human rights violations. We want divestment from companies that engage in environmental destruction. We want divestment from companies that have terrible ethical histories. And we also want more clarity in how the USF Foundation does their investing. So there were three main things. Those were the three main things that were outlined in our divestment bill. And the last thing that we said was divestment from companies that engage in anything that has to do with occupied Palestine. So divestment from Israeli or companies that work in Israel, or Israeli-based companies that do things in the occupied Palestine. So our 10,000 students, there are not 10,000 students in just SJP. There's 30-something students in SJP, all right? So 10,000 students, they're not all Palestinians. There's no way there's 10,000 Palestinians at USF. They're not all Arabs. There's not 10,000 Arabs at USF. And they're not all Muslims. There's not 10,000 Muslims at USF. These are 10,000 regular everyday students who thought this was an issue, and they supported this from the beginning, and they still support it.
And you went to the USF Foundation. They had a meeting. We were there. We covered it. Mm-hmm. How did that meeting go?
That meeting went, to put it lightly, it went horribly. We were given, 10,000 students spoke up, one unanimous voice against this issue. You would think they would at least discuss it while we were there watching them. But all they discussed at this meeting is their voting procedures, and then they immediately went into voting. So within less than 15 minutes, they killed this bill without even discussing it. They said absolutely nothing about our bill. They mentioned the name, that was about it. And they killed it in less than 15 minutes. So the USF Foundation believes that 10,000 students' unanimous voice is worth less than 15 minutes of their time.
And I guess that brings us to this billboard that showed up yesterday, Tuesday, on Fowler Avenue. Tell us where it is, what the billboard looks like, and what it says.
Okay, the billboard is on Fowler and 50th. Fowler and 50th. It is close to Felicitas and CDB Pizza. So if you're going away from USF towards 56, you'll see it. It's nice and big. It used to be where the cancer center's billboard was. Okay, and the billboard basically says 10,000 students want. Let me just pull it out. Read it.
Mm-hmm.
"10,000 students silenced. End USF investment in Israeli apartheid." And then it hashtags USF for human rights, and then it puts our website, sjpusf.com. So basically our billboard, the whole idea was, they silenced us last year, and I came in and I remember, like, why aren't we talking about this 10,000 signatures? What happened to this? Why aren't we still discussing this? Just because it happened last year, we're not going to discuss it. I want every single one of those 10,000 voices to matter. We discuss every day nowadays. We're talking about free speech, people being silenced, people being oppressed around the world, everything that's happening in Paris. All we're talking about is free speech. But when 10,000 students speak up, what happens to their voices? They get absolutely shut out in 15 minutes by a group of super rich foundation members.
And the image on the billboard is a person's face with tape over their lips.
Tape over their lips, yeah, exactly.
Now, you have the phrase in there, Israeli apartheid, and I'm sure that people are might get upset about that. What do you mean when you say Israeli apartheid?
Okay, by Israeli apartheid, it's not an anti-Semitic anything. It has nothing to do with Judaism or the Jewish faith, has nothing to do with that. What we're discussing, what we're addressing, is the fact that there are people in Israel who go out of their way to create an apartheid-like state. It looks just like South Africa during its apartheid, where Palestinians and Israelis aren't even allowed to be on the same bus. Let that sink in for just a second. They're not allowed on the same bus. That's not even racism. That's not prejudice. That's not prejudicism. That's apartheid. That's exactly what they did in South Africa. That they're being targeted because of their race, even though they've been there. The Israelis have been there, the Palestinians have been there. We're not saying we want one to prevail over the other. There are two groups of people there, and one is making the other its subordinate. And that's what Israeli apartheid is.
But I've heard the argument that Palestinians in Israel have rights just like Jews in Israel have rights, like they can vote, they can be a member of Knesset, and so on. But
Okay.
you still call it apartheid.
Yeah, okay. First and foremost, I'm not an expert on the politics of that. Okay? I don't live there. I'm not from there. I haven't come from there. I've never experienced that. But what we're talking about is when we see from the outside looking in, and from what people tell us on the inside, there's no way that they have equal rights. How can they have equal rights if they're not even allowed on the same bus? They argue that they're allowed in their political system. How are they going to get to that political meeting? How are they going to campaign when there's an effort, Operation Protective Edge is going on? How is a Palestinian going to run for government in Israel when they're just attacking the people there? So where are those rights? There might be, even if they are granted those rights, where are they allowed to actually implement their ability? Where are they allowed to actually practice those rights?
What's been the reaction to the billboard so far in just the last 18 hours or whatever since it's been up?
In the last 18 hours, of course, it's been mixed. We've had people who are obviously going to be against it because it says the word Israeli apartheid on it. anything that has to do with that topic is going to cause some controversy. But so far, 75% has been positive. People love that we're speaking out for them. People love that we didn't forget that their voice was part of that 10,000. Because even though this is our SJP is doing this. This is still the only voice since those 10,000 voices have been silenced. So we're not only taking this as an opportunity to speak on behalf of SJP, speak on behalf of these Palestinians that we believe so like we have such a passion for. This is more so about the 10,000 voices that were absolutely hushed, absolutely 100% silenced by the USF Foundation.
Let me ask you how much the billboard cost and where you got the money for it.
Okay, the billboard costs a lot of money. Alright? Specifically, I don't think I should get into that, but the money was 100% donated by students who thought that this was important to them. Has no USF student government funding, has no outside funding. This is 100% people who believed in this cause, who didn't want 10,000 voices to be completely silenced a whole another year.
So you